Now, this afternoon in our conversation, I've titled our conversation today as Godly Women. And our text is derived from Proverbs chapter 31. Our topic is very interesting, and I hope all of you will learn something and we may be able to apply it in our lives. It's about the godly virtues or noble character traits of women. If there is one thing that I want everyone to take away in today's conversation is this: that God's love is amplified with godly women by our side. God's love is amplified. Ayun, may pumapalakpak po sa likod. Bakit kaya? Why is God's love amplified with godly women by our side? God's love is magnified and amplified or manifested all the more because of the influence of this woman in our lives. Now, this afternoon, we will be able to learn that there are about 5 noble traits, as highlighted by King Solomon in Proverbs, quoting King Lemuel. There are 5 traits of women that we will learn that King Solomon mentioned in Proverbs chapter 31. So, for the young people, listen carefully, because in this text that we are going to study today, it will give you a foresight or an understanding of what should I be looking for. And doon sa mga SA naman, ating mga single adults, this would also give you parang a guideline on what you should be looking for in your lifetime partner. And then doon sa mga husband, ako, I love my wife. Yeah. I love my wife. Yung mga husband, love niyo ba ang asawa niyo? Taas ang kamay ng mga mahal niyo ang asawa niyo. Taas ang kamay. Pag di niyo tinaas ang kamay niyo, yari kayo. Doon naman sa mga boyfriend, mahal niyo ba ang girlfriend niyo? Sino dito? Taas ang kamay, mga may girlfriend na mahal nila. Ayun, mahal niya yung girlfriend niya. Okay. Yung may mga mahal dyan, pero yung mahal nila, may mahal palang iba. Taas ang kamay. Joke lang. Taas din na kamay. Ayun, meron. Joke lang. Now, for the wives and women in this church, this is about honoring you. Okay? Basically, our conversation is about honoring you. But even though this may be inclined to the wives, the overall context is applicable to all women regardless of their status. Now, I just said a while ago, I love my wife. Diba? Now, what do I love about my wife? Well, unang-una kasi mistisa siya, saka cute. Okay? Di naman obvious, pero mistisa rin ako eh. But anyway, besides that beauty, later on I realized na she's smart, she's caring, she's kind, and she's loving. Yeah. She's fragile yet resilient in her ambition and ways. And as I've said, she's smart and nerdy. Sa mga di po nakakaalam, college, magka-schoolmate kami ng college. Her thesis, magulat kayo, is a computer-aided instruction for algebra yun eh. Integral calculus with differential equation. She also loves to teach and learn new things. Doon po sa mga hindi nakakalam, she was a professor before. So she was teaching computer science. And one of her satisfaction is to see her students learn something from her, and then those students of her show gratitude and respect to her. So her smile, her charming smile, melts my heart. Kinikilig na ba kayo? Anyway, patikim pa lang po yan. We will learn, I will tell you more later on. Now, going back to our text today, when I was preparing for our conversation today, this was the first question that came to my mind. Why would King Solomon devote a whole chapter on godly traits of a wife or woman? Now, while I was studying and researching, I found out that King Solomon had trouble in dealing with his sexually immoral relationship Mahilig pala si King Solomon sobra sa babae. Alam niyo po ba kung ilan ang kanyang asawa at ilan ang kanyang concubine? He has 700 wives and princesses and 300 concubines. Wow. And the sad thing about it is that King Solomon broke one of the Lord's directive regarding Israel's kings. There were 3 directives that God has instructed for Israel's kings. Can be found in Deuteronomy chapter 17, 16 to 17. Number 1 is no amassing of horses, not having many wives, ayan po, and no excessive gold and silver. So sa number 2, King Solomon failed. He disobeyed the Lord's directive regarding not having many wives. So, tanong ng iba dyan, para lang pala yan sa mga hari. Hindi naman ako hari, so pwede ako magkaroon ng maraming asawa. Not so fast. Because in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2, and in verse 12, you can look it up later on, and in Titus chapter 1, verse 6, Paul mentioned the husband of one wife in a list of a qualification for leaders. Now, while these qualifications apply for leaders, according to Paul, it applies equally to all believers as well. Because it is our life testimony as followers of Christ to have only one wife. So, wala po tayong lusot. Okay? So, hindi po natin pwedeng sabihin, para lang to sa mga hari ng Israel. It applies to all. It applies po sa atin, lahat. So, again, going back to why would King Solomon devote a whole chapter? Perhaps it is King Solomon's way to give us advice. Give us advice and to tell us na don't follow my example. Because I failed in this area. King Solomon perhaps gave us these instructions about the noble traits of a wife or women because ito yung frustration niya. It was his frustration. He was frustrated that he didn't have one. There was no clear explanation, but this is just my understanding of what happened to King Solomon. Why did he devote the whole chapter? And you know what? It was these women who actually made King Solomon turn his back away from the Lord and worship other gods. So perhaps King Solomon must tell us, it is my frustration. That's why I'm leaving this to you, for you to follow and to serve as a guideline in finding yourself a noble and godly woman with such virtues. His illicit relationship that goes against the decree of the Lord for Israel's kings made King Solomon turn his back away from the Lord. A wife with a godly character is priceless. Where do we read that? In Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Why did King Solomon make that a wife is priceless? Well, it is something that every man should look out for, because for a man to have a wife with such godly traits and virtues will surely enjoy a good, peaceful, and joyful life as they build their families together and deepen their relationship with each other and to the Lord. That's why it is a priceless gift from God. Hindi pa po yan yung yung traits. Parang it's a summary pa lang ni King Solomon to. He started with to have a wife with such a noble character is priceless. Now in verse 11 to 12, this is the start. This is where we start. As I've said, there were 5 noble traits of a godly woman that King Solomon had outlined for us. Okay? The last one po would be the most important one. I think that would be it supersedes the other 4. And later on, we will understand why. In verse 11, it reads, her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. So what's the first character trait of a godly woman? Trustworthy. Ano po ba ibig sabihin ng trustworthy? A godly woman is trustworthy because she is dependable, reliable, Tagalog, maaasahan. A person who will have your back no matter what. Hindi ka ilalaglag. A person you can trust. Trust is important, especially in relationship. If you can trust each other, bakit pa kayo pumasok sa relasyon? Diba? Especially in husband and wife, trusting each other and being confident that you will look out for each other was built over the years na kilala nyo ang isa't isa. Love was already present, and because of that love for each other, trust naturally deepens. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 7, this is what Paul tells us. Love always trusts. Love always trusts. Those who love will always believe in the other person, to the one they love. Whatever the situation, love is ready to trust. The trust we must all learn here means that we are ever ready to believe in him or her no matter what. The loved one may have a checkered past. That loved one may have been undeserving of your trust because of something that this person had done. But yet, true love is able to look past and beyond that, because love always trusts. When our fingernails grow, what do? We cut them, right? We cut them. Similarly, when we value our relationship more than our ego, cut our ego, not our relationship. So trustworthy. A godly woman is trustworthy, maaasahan. But the second trait that we will learn here is found in verse 13 to 15, verses 21 to 22, and verses 27 to 28. Strong-willed and hardworking. Yan. Tough, unwavering, resolute, matapang, determinado. They have that never say die spirit, they have that grit, and they have that strong character. I have seen so many women who portray such character. And they know how to use their strength for their advantage. She protects her children and household at any cost. And she's fierce toward anyone who would cause harm to them. She protects her children and she protects her home. Hardworking, masipag, matyaga. I've seen these traits from the mother of my dad, yung lola ko. If not for her, my aunts and uncles wouldn't be able to finish their schooling. My dad's ambition and dream before was to be a pilot. And my lolo, or my grandfather, was strongly against that. Mahal. But my lola persisted. My lola persisted and supported my dad. So what she did was she invested in properties and lands with her income as a public school teacher. She put up businesses, bakery, especially the one that we had in Antipolo. I remember when I was small, na napakalakas nung benta ng pandesal at simada. She bought trucks for trucking services. And meron siyang kabayo. She bought horses for racing at Santa Ana. So this was what she did. She had all these things to support the family. And similarly, with my mother-in-law that I learned from my wife, ganun din. She was the one who was able to support the whole family. She also invested in properties. That's why they had the properties in the provinces in Metro Manila. They have that grit. These women showed grit. They have that fighting spirit and they are not afraid to get their hands dirty. Mas gusto pa nga nila sila yung gagawa. Di ba? So pala sila mismo yung magtatrabaho. Meron silang superwoman mentality. Nakikita nyo ba yan sa mga asawa nyo? Ako na nga. Tagal-tagal mo eh. Ako na. Kasi mamamalansya pa ako. The third trait of a godly woman, they are wise and good steward. This can be found in verses 16 to 19 and verses 23 to 26. Now, wise and good steward. Now, hard work in using wisdom and foresight are vital to being successful. As in my example on hard work a while ago, much of their success can be attributed to wisdom. Now, what is wisdom? Wisdom is the ability to make the right decisions and to make the correct judgment. So these women that I've just mentioned, my lola and my mother-in-law, they used their wisdom to to go into businesses. They had the right timing and the right opportunity. And with that, they were blessed. Whatever ventures that they went into became successful. And they are good stewards of those blessings as well. They're able to manage whatever they have been given and made it successful. But the best example of a good steward for a mom is this. A mom who's able to rear and raise their kids, teaching them well through proper discipline and guidance, and teaching them about the ways of the Lord, passing that teaching so to ensure that it will be benefited by the next generation. That is a good example of stewardship. For a mom to pass on those good values, and a mom who's able to teach his kids about the Lord will ensure that whatever that values that has been passed will continue on to the next generation to come. That's a good example of a woman who's a good steward. Actually, in verse 23, it also mentioned there that the husband of such woman with those traits, that the wise and good steward, they were successful and respected as well. Bakit kaya? Why? Because the wife takes good care of the husband. And they were partners in whatever they do. And because of that partnership, the wife has a big influence in the success of the husband in whatever endeavors he does. Whether it's in ministry or whether it's in his work. Galing, ano? So, mga husband, palakpakan naman po natin dyan ang ating mga asawa at ating mga girlfriend. Now, the fourth trait of a godly woman is found in verse 20. And it says, she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. The fourth trait of a godly woman is that she's generous. They have the grace to help others. They're ever ready to extend help in any ways that they can. For moms, she makes sure that her children had all their needs: food, clothes, toys, a safe and clean home. Now, for their friends and relatives, they have the ever-ready shoulder to cry on and an ever-ready ear to listen to their griefs and despair. But more than that, they are ever ready to give financial assistance as and when it is necessary. Hindi po mahirap sa kanilang tumulong financially. Now, as we come to the fifth trait of a godly woman, we read in verse 30, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Now, do you know what is the fifth trait of a godly woman? God-fearing. God-fearing. Such a wise counsel of King Solomon indeed. Seek a God-fearing woman because they are full of wisdom and knowledge. Look at what King Solomon exhorts us in Proverbs chapter 1-7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. In Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10, it said, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Now, a wise person, okay, a wise person, meaning a person who has ability to do the right decision and make good judgment, will always be favored and blessed. And a person who fears the Lord would be wise. Why? Because he made the right decision to fear the Lord. So that person is wise because he made the right choice. He made good judgment. A person who's wise, first and foremost, would know to fear the Lord. That person who fears the Lord, first and foremost, already have a relationship with the Lord. He's already a follower and a believer of Christ. Now, the fear that we are talking here, the context of the fear that we're talking here, means in reverence or in awe of God. This is the fear that we are talking about here. Reverence and awe of God. So a wise person fears the Lord because he made the right decision to worship God and be in awe of Him. Why? Dahil alam niya na ang Diyos na sinasamba niya, na ang Diyos na pinili niyang sambahin ay makapangyarihan. He is the King of Kings and He is the Lord of Lords. He created everything. And out of that awe and reverence, we submit ourselves to Him. We yield ourselves to Him. We recognize His supreme authority over our lives. Submit and obey. Just like what Jesus showed in His obedience and submission to the Father. Not my will, but let your will be done. That is the fear of the Lord that we're talking here. That's why a wise counsel of King Solomon. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Choose to fear Him, because that is a wise decision. The fear that other people know is very different from the fear of the Lord that we're talking here, because the fear that other people know is the fear of the unknown. The fear of the Lord means to be in awe and and to give that reverence and worship that He deserves from us. God's love is amplified with godly women by our side. Choose yourself a partner who fears the Lord first and foremost. Because a person who fears the Lord is truly wise because they put God first in their lives. It means they are already a follower of Christ. And because of that, both of you can partner together, building up one another, strengthening each other, and eventually build a joyful household based on the solid foundation of faith in Christ and reverence to God. So what's our challenge for today? For husband, honor our wives. Honor our wives because they have an influence on us. They have been our pillar of our strength when we are in need. When we are down and out, our wives are there to support us and help us. Sila yung partner natin, wala nang iba. And fear the Lord. Have the fear of the Lord, because the fear of the Lord is what, according to King Solomon, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The ability to make the right choice, the right decision, and pass on good judgment. They say that behind the success of every man is what? A stronger woman. This is so true. Now, let me tell you a backstory about myself. Before, I've turned my back away from God. But it was my wife who was instrumental in my faith restoration. 22 years ago, we got married. Actually, I met my wife during college, as I've said. She was a Christian. Ako, Christian. Something happened in my walk with God. We attended church in Manila, pero I just attend, just for the sake of her. After we got married, we had a Christian wedding. We went to Singapore. My wife looked for a church in Singapore. That was way back 97. She found Win at Lavender. Sama ako. Okay. But I don't want to be committed. I don't want to be committed. Eventually, as we continue to attend every Sunday, sometimes Saturday, there was a Saturday service pa. Slowly, the Holy Spirit is always nudging at my heart, trying to break me. And then there's one time, Pastor Butch had an altar call for those who wants to be prayed. And I was at the back. Alam mo yung feeling na nakatingin sa'yo yung pastor? Na parang sinasabi sa'yo, ikaw, halika rito, pagpipray kita. That was the feeling. You know? It's like, it's a personal call for me to walk down the aisle and surrender back to God. I was really struggling. He called on so many times, as if waiting for me to walk down that aisle. And I was struggling, but I did not walk. But the whole afternoon until the night, ang bigat-bigat sa dibdib. I don't know what to do. But that night, at our home, I surrendered my heart back to God. Now, you want to know the backstory? The backstory is this. All through those years that I've been away from God, my wife has been praying for me every night to restore me back to God. She was used by God for me to feel God's love again, for me to come back again. I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't be standing here in front of you right now if she was not used by God to restore me back. That's why God's love is amplified with godly women by our side. And I thank God for her. And I thank God for her. Somebody said, a strong woman knows she has enough strength for the journey, but a praying woman knows it's in her journey where she'll gain her strength. Now, as I end, I want all of us here to listen to this beautiful song that will be rendered by our music team. And as we listen to the message of the song, so it's a song that reverberates the greatness and wonder of God, that we should always be in awe of His love and His power.